Hello friends, in this video today we are going to be making some woodland nature inspired Christmas decor for your shelf, for your tier tray, for your tree, however you choose to use it to decorate. I'm also going to be showing you how if you don't have spindles and transfers to make something adorable and cute like this, you can use Dollar Tree products and scrapbook paper to make something adorable like this. Let's get crafting. For this adorable woodland DIY, we are going to start out with these bottle cap aluminum pieces from Dollar Tree. I took them outside. I spray painted them with some espresso spray paint by Rust-Oleum. These are some of the beautiful transfers from the Yuletide transfer packet from IOD. So they are the ones that I'm going to choose to use today. I started out with some faded burlap and a wide chippy brush, and I just had taken some of the paint off. It's not a complete dry brush because I want to have some paint on the brush. So I'm going across, and then I decide that the faded burlap was not really the color that I wanted. So I ended up using some white. I went over it and over it. I let that dry completely. Then with a smaller chippy brush, I went over it with some white. Then I went back over it again after it dried with the wide brush and gave it even more white. So when it looks like this is my finished product, it is not. I went over it again with some white, and this is what my finished product looked like. Excuse me. And I put some Big Top by DIY on top and sealed it because that's what I've been told to do with transfers, which I've never done before, and I had a much harder time getting these transfers to stick. I don't know if it was because it was the metal or what, but I will not be sealing my products first before I transfer again because it doesn't work as good for me. If it works great for you, awesome. But anyway, I went ahead and transferred these two beautiful transfers onto these pieces, and they look absolutely beautiful on here. You can see I'm having to really kind of work with it. I'm trying to do the little wave method where you make the little bubble in there and push it, and this seems to work best for me when I'm struggling a little bit because it helps kind of push it along, and then you just go back in and rub where it's not adhering to my project. So I don't know why I'm showing you this whole entire struggle, but I did. Then I go back with the same side that the transfer was on and burnish it down a little bit, rub it gently all over so that it adheres nicely. Now I've got them both on. I'm going to use that same piece of burlap twine, but I used my crocodile, and it's like a major hole puncher, and I got mine at Tuesday morning when we still had Tuesday mornings, and I made another hole because number one, I didn't get it centered, but number two, I wanted that to be that hanger to be a little further apart. I didn't like it so close together. I did that on both of them. And then I'm going to take, guess what? Some chiffon ribbon. If you've been around my channel very long at all, you know that I love canvas drop cloth and chiffon ribbon. I love that little crocheted lace ribbon as well, but this is my favorite right now. So I'm going to just do this so I can add in a little softness and still keep the rustic. Then I'm going to tie a little piece of jute twine around the center of the bow to adhere it. I'm going to put that jute twine through that extra hole that I have up there. And then I'm just going to glue that twine down, glue that bow down. And this DIY is done. I think they turned out precious. I have a piece of a spindle, some aviary paint, and some sandy blonde paint by DIY. And I'm going to start with the sandy blonde, and I'm going to give this just a messy coat, a rough coat. I'm not looking for complete full coverage, but a decent coat on here. I get all my DIY paints, my IOD products, Saltwash, all of those things I get from Sammy over at unicorndustdesigns.com. So go over and check out her website. She has thrifted items, upcycled items, all kinds of cool stuff. Now, I would have added Saltwash to this aviary, but the paint inside my lid was very thick, and around the edges, it was very thick. So I just used that very thick paint with this stencil brush, and I just sort of gobbed it on all over, but not covering up all of that base color paint. You can see it's very thick around the edges, and I'm just globbing it all over. Now, you could add some baking soda, which you'll see me do in the next project, or you could add some Saltwash or additive. Now I'm taking some white paint of your choice, white paint of my choice. I'm using up some old Rust-Oleum chalk paint, and I'm using, right now I'm just putting it where I want it. Now I'm going back in and I'm putting big globs of it, like thick, where I'm just dipping the paintbrush in there and I'm gobbing the paint on. Because in the end, I want it to look like the paint chipped off everywhere else or wore off everywhere else. So once it dried, I took my finger sander and I sanded down, and then I put the transfer on. I did not get that on camera. I was not recording, but I put the transfer on the top. I put a little eyelet screw in the top, and now I'm going to wrap some jute twine in that little crevice, all the way around in that little crevice, just to give it some more natural elements to the look. And just glue it, wrap it, glue it, snip it. Super simple, super easy. Peel off all the excess glue, snip it, and then I'm going to make a tiny little finger bow or shoestring bow. I'm going to wrap one more piece around. I thought I was going to just tie a regular bow, and then I decided I wasn't going to. I decided I would just leave that, and then, I'm going to tie some jingle bells on it. That's what I was going to do. I was going to tie a bow and then tie the jingle bells to the tails, and it didn't really work out that way. So this is what I decided to do. We're going to tie some little rusty, crusty jingle bells. I put those jingle bells in some vinegar and salt. I mixed vinegar and salt. I put them in some vinegar, and I sprinkled salt all over them, and I let them sit for a day or two, and they got rusty crusty. They're amazing. And so I'm going to attach them, and then I'm going to put a little small bow, little finger bow, right in the center, and I think this turned out really, really cute. What am I doing now? I'm done. Snippety, do all the final little snips, and we're done. Now, if you don't have spindles in your area, you don't have an old broken down chair you can take apart, or you can't find them, just pick up those dice from Dollar Tree or something similar, and some scrapbook paper of your choice. And I was kind of trying to go with the woodland look, and this was the only scrapbook paper I had in my stash that had that look. And then I decided I really kind of didn't want to cut out all these little pieces, and I didn't really like how that was going to look. So I cut out a few pieces of it, and then I found this other beautiful Christmas paper that I liked better. And so I'm just putting it down there and rubbing around the round part so that I can get an idea of about the size that I want. And you'll see in the end, they don't have to be exactly perfect. You'll see. And then I'm going to, you see how those little sprigs look on there? I wasn't real thrilled with the way that looked. Anyway, I painted those blocks with the faded burlap, just like I did the spindle. Now I'm taking some baking soda, and we're doing this we're doing this the cheap way, and some green paint. And I'm mixing it to the consistency I want. I want it to be thick, like that dried up paint that was in my lid, okay? And then I'm just kind of gobbing it all over. I'm not looking for any coverage. I want some of that faded burlap to still peek through. And I want it thicker in some places and not in others. And I am going to sand them. And I do want one side to not be painted where I'm going to attach them. Can I talk, please? Okay, I have this big round ball and two smaller beads. They're beads. They're not balls. They're beads, okay? And so I'm going to also do the same paint method on those. And then I'm going to go wash the paint off my hands because that was making me crazy. Do the same exact paint method I did on the spindle. But now I'm going to take some Mod Podge, and on those flat sides, I'm going to paint some Mod Podge. I'm going to let it dry completely. We're going to do the iron-on method with our little pieces of scrapbook paper that we cut out. So I'm going to decide which way that I want them to turn. I'm making sure it's dry. I'm making sure I've got the sides with the Mod Podge on them. And then I'm going to take my little heat press. You could use a household iron with no steam and anything that gets hot enough. And I'm going to make sure that I've got the right side. I kept losing my side here. And I'm going to press these little pieces of paper, reactivate that Mod Podge, and it's going to give me a wrinkle-free, beautiful finish. Then I'm going to take my finger sander and I'm going to sand that paper down so that it's even with the edges, and then it gives me that ripped look around the edges, which I love. So I did that on all the sides. I even did that little sprig of greenery, and then I sanded it like I wanted, and then I'm taking clear wax by DIY and I'm waxing all the pieces, but not the parts where I'm going to glue it, because that wax will impede the adherence of the glue. So I have a little skewer and I drilled some holes, and you all have seen me do this method before if you've been watching for very long. And we're going to use this to make our project sturdy. So I'm making sure that that's going to stick out of that bead long enough to stick into the block that we're going to put on top of it. Do not know why I'm having such a hard time explaining this. Then we're going to put some glue up here, and then we are going to take a piece of jute twine, because we have to adhere those beads on top. Well, I'm going to glue that, but then I think, oh wait, I have to adhere those beads on top. So I'm going to make a little loop. I'm going to loop it around that skewer, push it all the way down, tighten it up, and then I'm going to pull it up. Now, I like to put a little drop of the glue on the ends of my twine to make them, and twist them together to make them kind of pointy to go through the hole. I'm going to stick that through the hole of that block and up through the center, and then I'm going to sit it on top of the skewer. I'm going to twist it till I get the sides together that I want together. You see it. Line it up the way I want it to look in the end. Pull it up. Okay. Then this is going to be where we can string our beads on and have a hanger. I am going to put a little drop of glue in between. I'm getting to the bottom of my glue. I do store it upside down, but as it lays there while I'm using it, it kind of, gravity pulls it back down. So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just gluing them together. I'm going to put a little drop of glue there. I'm going to tie a knot down as close to it as possible so that it all stays together nicely. And then I'm going to tie a knot a little bit further up so that we have a loop and we have a hanger. And then I decided I wanted to do a little bit more because, I'm a little bit extra. You could stop there. It would be perfectly fine. But I decided I was going to take a little bit of twine and make it a little bit more rustic. So I just wrapped and wrapped and wrapped and wrapped that jute twine around there, the top, where the beads meet the blocks, and then tied a little bow and put that little bow right there. I thought that was a cute little added touch, and I wanted those little strings to hang long, but they didn't really hang right. I think I ended up cutting them. And then I did the same method in between the blocks and the big bead, but I did not put a bow. I just wrapped the twine because I thought that looked cute. And there we go. Keep wrapping it and then just glue it down. It felt more finished that way. We are going to start this cute little woodland Christmas DIY with one of those little houses from Dollar Tree and a piece of that scrapbook paper that coordinated with our other DIY. And we're going to just put it inside here. I measured it out to fit, and you'll see that it takes me a couple of tries to get it in there just like I want it. Sometimes I just like to leave the struggle in so it doesn't look like I'm as perfect as y'all think I am. Ha ha. Okay, that was a joke, in case you didn't get my weird sense of humor. Okay, so I'm going to use this little squeegee to make sure that there's no air bubbles under there so it'll stay. So that's going to be actually the back side. We're going to use Faded Burlap by DIY and paint the front side. This is going to be our front side. I'm going to give it just one good coat, and then I'm going to tape off, because I wanted to do this quickly, that little piece that is that piece of wood that's nailed to the back. I just wanted that to be finished off. So I'm going to paint that in the Faded Burlap as well, because I'm going to leave the sides that natural wood color because I like it and because we are doing nature-inspired DIYs this week. Then I'm going to take weathered wood, which is a beautiful weathered wood color, and a dry brush, and very lightly dry brush all around the edges and on top. Now, I didn't get on camera. I forgot to record a lot of this. My hand was still hurting, and I was suffering through here, and I was trying to get these done, and I kept forgetting to record. So I had these very big craft sticks, and I can't find them anymore. Walmart used to carry them, and they don't have them anymore, and this was my last one. But I cut it to fit this, and now I am using weathered wood just to dry brush it. I want it to look like it's, not completely painted. Now I'm going to take the IOD Barn Plank stamp and their black ink, and I'm going to ink up this IOD stamp. If you get an IOD stamp new, you need to take a 220 grit sandpaper and prime it, just sand off the new, which I've already done. I've used this stamp many times. And I'm just going to stamp this on here, holding it with one hand, pressing with the other, making sure that it touches everywhere. And just look how pretty that turns out. Then always be sure that you clean your stamps good with a wet wipe or a wet cloth, because you don't want to ruin them. They are expensive. Now, I did not seal this before using this little bird, beautiful bird transfer. I am in love with these little birds on this little Christmas branch. And every time I do a bird DIY, I have birds in my bedroom, but every time I do a bird DIY, I can't help but think about the scriptures that talks about won't God even provide for the birds? Like, we shouldn't even worry. We shouldn't even toil, because God even provides for the birds. So if you're worried or you're stressed about all the things that are going on in the world today, or whatever's going on in your life, please just pray and ask God to help you, because He's going to be there for you. Now, I just took a little piece of a branch. I got those at Dollar Tree, and I used a screw because I plan to sell this, and I don't want, if I have to ship it, I don't want that little piece to break off. You could totally hot glue it if you wanted to, but I took a tiny little screw and screwed it in from the back side. I'm going to take some more of that beautiful red chiffon ribbon, and I just pinched one little piece up as a background. I made a tiny little finger bow, and I'm going to put some little bits and bobbles of greenery and berries like the little birds have collected, and put it down by the little stump. I didn't make a hole because this is kind of just for looks. It's not a real birdhouse anyway. And then I put a little moss up at the top, like it's just a little extra up there, and I am in love with this little Christmas birdhouse. Let me know what you think about it, and would you like to recreate it? Thank you so much for watching this video today, friends. I would love for you to give it a thumbs up. Drop me a comment below. Let me know which was your favorite. And would you try to create your own spindle type ornament? It was so easy and so fun. Also, I'd like to thank you all for all the prayers for the healing of my hand. It's healing up very nicely. I still have a little ways to go. I'm able to use it more with less pain. So thank you so much for all the prayers. I really appreciate it. But most of all, I want you to remember to be still and know that He is God.